Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Kaylin, Senator, you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA. I have a question as VA Secretary. As cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Kaylin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the veteran cabinet secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Former Congressman Doug Collins there for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, and he's still as sharp as ever because, yeah, he's right. While they're still hee-hawing and getting so excited about the stupid Signal chat, which of course I am really hoping to put this to bed today because I'll go through this in a second, but something really, I just got so unreasonably pissed yesterday watching something. And I was like, what is this moron talking about? But, of course, they're all talking about it, and there's a very obvious and very specific reason, but I'll get that in just a second. First off, I'm going to move a little bit fast, and I'm really kind of disappointed because I was going to do a much longer show today, but I had some technical difficulties, and I'm on a very short schedule, so it's going to be actually a really short episode today, but... luckily, because there was kind of two topics, and one of them was short, one of them was long, I can do the short topic, and then tomorrow, hopefully I can get around to the long one, because it's much, much, much more important and much more relevant, I think, to what everyone really should be talking about. But no, everybody's still talking about the stupid Signal messages. That was, I mean, at this point, it's been almost a week, and there's sure to be more discussions about it, because here's basically the bottom line about the Signal messages. It's pretty obvious, but when you think about how desperate it is, it's actually really kind of pathetic, because the left has, like, all the Democrats, especially in Congress, they have been desperate to find something, anything. The American public is like so historically behind the Republican president for the first time in decades that, like, I think probably, like, even, well, I can't say for sure. I know about the votes, but, like, there was a sort of a comparison by CNN, of course. That I don't know why I can't remember his name, but he's the really energetic guy that's always in front of the board that has all the numbers and maps and stuff on it. That guy is always rattling off figures and stuff. And, you know, he's probably one of the guys there that seems at least the most, like, unpartisan member of CNN's team, because he's, like, he'll get worked up, but he'll get worked up and not really act as fanatical as anybody else there. He almost sounds like he's trying to sound more, why am I so out of focus? Hold on a second. This is weird. Oh, that's why. I literally was out of focus. Okay. Oh, okay. Just a light. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention. But no, he definitely seems to, you know, he'll kind of work himself up when he's talking about these things, but it's not really with, you don't get that anger in his voice that you get with, like, a lot of the other people on the networks, where when he's talking about that, you just see the either the hostility or just like the life being drained out of him. Like you'll sometimes see that with the people he's standing next to, and in the case of the most recent one where he was talking about Donald Trump's disapproval rating right now was at like -4%, which is lower than it was when he actually got elected. And it was lower than or higher than it was when he got elected, and it's higher than it was when he was elected in 2016 as well. So right now he's pretty much more popular than he's ever been, and I think it has to do with. I saw an interview with RFK Jr. yesterday. I saw some interviews with other members of the cabinet, and honestly, like they're all firing on all cylinders. Like there's no break between them. There's no confusion about what they should be doing. And one thing that is definitely clear is they're all on the same page about one very specific thing. Everyone who is arriving at their post is blown away at how ridiculously inefficient and how basically those places have been run like, like a high school freshman was running them. Like, there's not 1 ounce of real effort that went into any of the places that are supposed to be our big institutions that are in charge of this department, that department. They're all supposed to be these prestigious places, and none of them have been operating anywhere close to efficiently. In fact, there's tons of, and this was a lot of what I wanted to get into. It's there was a great video yesterday that came out late last night from it's one of the few people who is someone I would consider to be a pretty damn close to down the middle and objective journalist. At least he is trying to be, and that's Brett Baer. Even though he's on Fox, he's not like Hannity or Laura. He's not at all the kind of guy who takes a stance on anything that's obvious. He's most definitely a kind of guy who, I mean, even when he talks to members, that he's the only one that members of Biden's cabinet would come on and talk to. He's the only one that some left-wing, different, whether it's political strategists or just figures in the Democrat Party, he's the only one that will go on, whose show they will go on, because they know he's not, actually going to be motivated by any kind of partisan sort of animus towards one side or the other. Now, I'm sure he has his own political beliefs, but he really is the kind of guy who doesn't really let them known, and he just asks he will ask pretty tough questions of anybody, whether they're on the right or the left, and that's the thing. He doesn't really, it's not an easy interview either way. That's the way he's kind of nonpartisan, is that he really does kind of grill. Sometimes he'll grill right-wing guys just as hard as left-wing guys. But anyway, he did a great interview with Elon Musk, and this time it was with about maybe a dozen or so members of DOGE with him. And I thought that was really awesome that, like, finally we see some of the guys that are working at this actual, new quote-unquote agency, whatever you want to call DOGE. But actually, we're finally seeing some of the faces of the people that are there. By the way, I didn't see any kids in the group. I didn't see any. I'm sure they have, the younger guys there, but these were some of the more older business owner kind of successful and probably older friends of Elon's. I don't know for sure, their relationship or how far they go back. Probably some of them barely know him at all, but or maybe they know him very, very little bit or in passing or whatever. But they all are basically animated by the same kind of goal, which is to once again, it's to make government working as efficient as it can. And sorry, that's bugging me the other way. Okay. There we go. That's much better. Okay, sorry about that. Jeez, I did a horrible job this morning. But yeah, they're all very much involved in their own specific departments. They're all going through those specific sectors of government, and you know, they all had one thing to say that was really very much in common: is that any idea you have about how bad it is, it's a lot worse. Like, and some of the examples they gave are really, like, even if you think, you know, you get an idea of how bad it is, like I couldn't believe some of it was, I knew it would be bad, but it was, like I say, like when you hear the actual details of what they're finding, the numbers don't really do it justice. You have to hear the way these things are set up, the way they operate. I'll give you one example that just comes to mind that they talked about yesterday. There was a survey that went out. I don't remember what it was about. It was about something really, really minor, though. It was like a 10-question survey. And a lot of the government agencies, by the way, still do things with paper. They don't do anything digital. So they, which is funny as hell, because they don't want to have, you know, well, they do want to have mail-in ballots. They don't want to have, in-person voting with digital anything. But, well, yeah, sometimes they do if they can manipulate it. I don't know. They're so weird about the rules for voting. But when it comes to these offices, it's like, nope, paper and however much space it takes, and however, you know, however inefficient it might be, we'll just hire more people. And that seems to be the excuse for everything. We'll just hire more people. And that doesn't ever seem to fix anything, but they're just like, well, we'll just hire. That's why the IRS thing was, you know, handled the way it was that we need to make more money. Well, we'll just hire more IRS agents. No, I don't think that's going to work. But the example was that there was a survey done. They send out this form, and instead of it being like, you know, what you would expect from a minor survey that's going out, this isn't even nationwide. This is just to one county and one state in the entire U.S. And it had something to do with parks, I think, parks and recreation or something. Like I said, very, very minor, minuscule sort of thing. You'd expect maybe, probably with the government, maybe anywhere from a couple hundred to maybe $1 million. No, it was actually closer to 1 billion. Yeah, for that. It's mind-boggling how they're able to do that, and why. I mean, even if you're on the left, and even if you are somebody who hates Elon Musk and hates Donald Trump and hates what they're doing, hates it, don't you want the money to go to maybe something you actually are, like, at this point it's literally going to nothing. It's not even going to the precious, you know, workers, even if they're illegal or not illegal, whatever status they are, if they're DEI hires or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to nothing. It's literally going to nothing. It's going to a service that should cost far, far, far less. And I guess whoever was in charge of running the survey must have had either a lot of pull with the party or a lot of pull with the agency, or just nobody was paying attention and he just decided, I'm going to scam them out of a bunch of money. I have no idea the reality of the situation. All I know is that should have been reviewed by somebody, and somebody should have stepped up at some point in the process and said, wait a minute, we're paying $1 billion for this survey to go out? No, this is ridiculous. But nobody does, and then Elon goes in to do this, and this is what really gets under my skin. You hear everybody talking about what he's doing, how nefarious it is. It's like, this is why I think it's so important to play this clip, and it's about 20. I cut out the part that had just Elon and his staff talking, and then there's a section afterwards with just Elon and Brett talking a little bit about a few other subjects and about DOGE still. So, like, of course, the Tesla dealerships and charging stations, and the attacks going on there, and yeah, I got to say it was kind of it's kind of rough watching Elon. I've never seen him actually show himself to actually look like he's really sad about something. But man, he really looked like the idea that his dealerships and his like Tesla, the name Tesla and the brand, and how much has gone into it, and the people that work for the company and how hard they work, and he just seemed to be reflecting on all of it, and how what a tragedy it is that people would be taking a political position based on a narrative pushed by one party, and based on that they would think it's fine to throw Molotov cocktails at their cars and shoot at their businesses through their windows, and vandalize and destroy the Teslas for people that own them, just on the consumer level. And so it's wild, but that's leftist tactics in a nutshell. And it's pretty gross. But and like I said, if I was in Elon's position, I wouldn't be able to handle it, because he was very restrained in really placing the blame on where it should be, which is on the people who are saying that Elon is there and he's trying to cut Social Security, he's trying to cut social services, he's trying to cut the social safety net programs, and he's trying to cut all their healthcare program. Like, they spread whatever they think is going to make people the most animated and the most panicked and the most angry, and they just say that's what he's doing. And they have the ability to do it, because one of the things I'm going to focus on today with what we're talking about is when the Democrat Party seems to have, you saw this in the election with Kamala Harris's campaign, like you saw it on full display, because that was when a lot of people started highlighting that when there was like a specific word or a specific slogan that was really something they wanted to drive home, no matter what channel you were on, no matter who you were listening to, or what the anchor, who the anchor was, or whatever. I wouldn't call them a reporter. They all pretty much had some kind of tell, like one word or one phrase that was like obviously scripted, because it was on every single freaking channel and every single show that they put on. Like, there was the first night, it was electric, and then every single channel was talking about how electricity was in the air in the building, and the Kamala Harris not even Kamala Harris, the DNC, it was like, it was electric here tonight, and like every single channel was using the word electric. It just lets you know, obviously, this isn't organic. This isn't just coming out of the minds of the people that are, actually reporting on this. Somebody has sent the message down that this needs to be what's said. And, there's always a lot of talk. It could be George Soros. It could be Democrat leadership in Congress. It could be Barack Obama. It could be this, it could be that. I don't know who it is. It's obviously somebody with a lot of influence in the Democratic Party, but who that one person is, I have no idea. But regardless, you don't see that anywhere else, certainly not with conservatives, not with any other political faction, and you've never seen that with Democrats either until this cycle, where every message has to be approved, every single talking point has to be run by somebody up higher than you. It has to be okayed. It's like there's no freedom. There's no ability to, stand up for any of your own ideas. There's no ability to even have your own ideas. You are there to represent the Democrat Party, period. And that's what's expected of you. If you don't do that, we've heard from Tulsi Gabbard what happens when you don't do that. You're pretty quickly ostracized from feeling like there's actually any point for you being there, I guess. And it's sort of I guess I can sort of boil it down to the idea of the sort of Pelosi Schumer years where there was no question that Nancy Pelosi is the one in charge of the Democrat Party in the House, and by extension, potentially all the Democrat politicians in America, aside from maybe if there's a Democrat president that's not like Joe Biden and more like Barack Obama, maybe then, okay, they have a little bit more control. But back then, it was obvious, no, Nancy Pelosi is the one that she's pulling the strings as far as the party goes. And then you got the funding, which, of course, there's George Soros. But at that time, there was also Mark Zuckerberg and all the tech guys. Now they're sort of moving the other direction, which is wild as hell. But yeah, I mean, things have changed, but still, there's still plenty of people that are spending tons of money. And as I was talking about the other day, it was yesterday or the day before, about how proud Chuck Schumer was about how, yeah, we voted to confirm 240 something judges, and it's like, yeah, great. So there's 240 new federal judges that are going to not act impartial and not act like judges that care about their oath and that care about upholding the law. They are going to care about upholding the Democrat interests and making decisions based on what is best for that and not what's best for the country or the legal system or anything remotely close to what the judge of a case is supposed to be doing. And it's just, it's kind of amazing how shameless the idea was, but you know, that's the way they have to operate now because they're too confused. And so here's where we'll get into today, because it's clear at this point that the signal thing, like I said, I'm hoping I can put a pin in this today and get this freaking out of the way, because I'm so sick of hearing about it. I'm tired of thinking about it and talking about it. But there's some real danger here, because it's clear and very obvious that they've taken this as a way to hopefully, in their mind, use as a baseball bat to sort of beat Pete Hegseth down with, and hopefully get him to resign or get him to be so humiliated or something. They want him gone, though. And if you do remember, during the confirmation hearings, he really was the only one that needed J.D. Vance to come in and break a tie for people voting for him. So he was particularly held in very extreme contempt by the left that were really angry about that. You know, he didn't meet with most of the Democratic members. It's like, well, of course I didn't. Why would I want to talk to you guys? What? None of you going to vote for me? What? And sure enough, of course, none of them did. But now we're in this situation. You would think, okay, well, he's in a position where they have the, anyway, he's in a position where he's got enough sway with the people around him, and one of the big benefits he's got is he's got the backing of the actual men and women in uniform. I think that the recruiting numbers are a great indicator that he's got the respect of the people that matter, and on top of that, he's also got the respect of the commander-in-chief, which is another big one, obviously. But just the fact that the men and women are, I think he would put that up against anything and anyone, other than maybe the things that are absolutely the closest to him. But I think he's honest when he says that he is trying to do this for all the right reasons, all the right anyway, sorry, I was trying to remember where I was going to go. Anyway, let's just start with this. So, if you remember, as time's gone on since the election, and I just mentioned about Donald Trump's approval rating and his disapproval rating, and how the left just really does not seem to understand it. They really don't get it. And instead of trying to figure it out, they are just convinced, or convincing themselves at least, that, wow, I was right and it's even worse than I thought. And it's, that seems to be the only thing they can do to kind of make it make sense in their head why this is happening. But the part that is so stupid is that I don't know. Is if I can't believe some of the stuff that comes out of the fucking Democratic Party. They really just are completely blinded by the idea. Somebody mentioned that I can't remember who it was. It might have been Elon that mentioned that one of the sort of grocery store magazine kind of displays that had he didn't even remember which magazine it was specifically, but there's a picture of Donald Trump, and it wasn't the Hitler one, but they did make a statement that was printed on the front page that we have to stop him now, because he's going to be like Mussolini, Stalin, and Hitler combined, or something like that, like three freaking genocidal, mass murdering dictators, under socialism and communism. Either one is fine. Let's mix them up because they don't know the difference anyway. But he's worse than all of them combined. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's see here. Like, we all know, like, how many people, like, just the Jewish lives lost in World War II during Germany's concentration camps and throughout the whole through the whole regime was around 6 million. We know that the whole war, there was something like, what was it, 100 or 200 million? Or was it, am I way off? It was like 12 million. Yeah. It was like 12 million, I think, worldwide. Then Stalin was something like 80 million. Now I'm remember. Yeah, I'm starting to remember now. Stalin was something like 80 million. I know Mao Zedong was way up there. He was something like 100. Nobody knows for sure in China because that one was so brutal and so unusual, and also in such a large landmass. At the same time, there's also other complications in China depending on where you go, but it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But once again, they have nothing else to go off of. So when this thing with Pete Hegseth came up and this chat came up, it was the only thing they had, so they had to run with it. They had to run with it because it's like, this is it. We've got them on something. This is totally irresponsible, and this is with classified information. Well, is it classified? Well, who cares? It's sensitive information, so we could just say it's classified. The way they use classified information, or just the concept of classified information, is so sick. Because first of all, just the fact that there's all this hype around things that the American people aren't allowed to see this as a whole. Wow, that's, first of all, that's very that's in a lot of conflict with the founding fathers' ideals and the ideas in the Constitution in the first place. But okay, national security, okay, I get the argument, yada yada yada. But at the same time, I don't get it for anytime there's some sort of governmental response that's going to try and deal with, what's it called? Man, I can't think of it. Anyway, so they're running with this thing with Pete Hegseth. Now, the thing is that the Signal app, and I found all this out yesterday. This is really unusual, but it's all really important information. So apparently the Signal app was actually something that was put on government devices in the Biden administration and was used by several of the cabinet members in the last administration because it was considered to be at the time an encrypted app that had good sort of capabilities at making sure that it was limited to only people that were invited to a specific chat and nobody else could crack into a conversation. And you have to have somebody, I learned this on watching Glenn Greenwald's show yesterday, that you have to be able to have someone's name and information on your device already before you can add them to any kind of chat on Signal. So you can't just take a random number and put it on Signal and call up somebody that is it's right there, I guess. But I think when it comes down to it, the problem is that, like, okay, you get this situation, and they're talking about sensitive stuff, but they're not necessarily talking about anything that would endanger anyone or really endanger the mission for that matter. And I'm going to let Congressman kind of clear it up in just a second. But before I do, just reflect on this situation for a second, because this is what really set me off yesterday. I don't know why I was driven to watch it because Benny Thompson was on. I like the guy, but he seemed like he was in a bad spot because not only were both the guests pretty much hostile toward him, but on top of that, Piers Morgan and his ridiculous times when he's got his so common sense opinions to give is going to make sure he hammers it home. And I lost it. I didn't lose it, but I really was like, I was furious when he started saying, it just seems like common sense that what was discussed in the chat would be classified. I mean, they're talking about an attack on somebody in a foreign country. Of course it would be I'm sorry, British guy. No, you don't know how the classification works. You don't know how anything works in this country. You are completely oblivious to it. I mean, I know you've read it, but apparently you don't understand it enough to really understand. So I don't blame you because of your culture, but I do blame you when you start trying to dig your heels in and actually try to put forward this perspective. Because ultimately, either something is legal or it's not legal. Either something's going to be against the rules or not against the rules, and something's going to be a fireable offense or a non-fireable offense, or an offense at all. You can't just say, well, it's just common sense that this should be classified information. Well, there was no classification on it because it was a conversation happening between a group of people that were all a member of the cabinet, and then somehow one of them either decided or somehow mistakenly, which is a big weird one. This is where I do understand. Okay, I don't understand what's going on here, but until we do, we're going to have to be extra cautious about who is in our discussions on any app, because the problem is that somebody inside the group, and it's how it has to happen. Someone has to be inside the group and invite someone else in. And as I said, they have to have their contact information on their phone. And it seems like Mike Waltz is the one based on the information from the information from the situation that was sort of processed by third-party individuals and looked at and kind of accordingly decided, like, okay, what was discussed and who was here and at what times and blah, blah, blah. And it says clearly that Mike Waltz has invited in Jeff Goldberg, that piece of trash that freaking he is. And it's really, this is the guy who is at the center of this, not anybody else. It's really this guy that really is and should be the focal point, because he was apparently invited in days before any of this information was being discussed. It just so happened that he was there and he saw it being passed around, and he had been watching and waiting, hoping, I'm sure, sitting there just with his fingers crossed the whole time. Man, are we going to be able to get this guy? Well, can we get him on? Well, he does seem like he might be, like, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing, and from hearing about what was going on, that was what I was deducing. I was also wondering why, and Mike Wald, I will say, now the president has kind of vouched for him, and other people have come out and vouched for him, and I don't know the guy, so I can't say anything about his ethics or personality. I don't know anything about him other than what I've seen publicly. But and I'll trust, whatever judgment they have. I just think that, first off, knowing what we know about Signal, it's really strange that would happen because of his. The only thing I can say is we know it was his device. That doesn't necessarily mean it was him. He says it wasn't a staffer, but maybe it's somebody else got a hold of his phone. I don't know, but we know that his phone, like his actual device, is responsible for it. That's where people a lot of times get hung up. Like when people are trying to pin a murder case on a suspect and they ping someone's cell phone that is right by the murder scene. Now, like when you watch an interrogation and you wonder, why doesn't she just say something so easy like, I don't know how this happened? And it's like, yes, you do. You know exactly how it happened. But if they were to admit that, then that would be, then there'd be someone else at fault and not somebody associated with Trump. So they have to make sure that it was someone associated with Trump that let in Jeff Goldberg. Jeff Goldberg was just reporting on what he saw in the chat, even though he was reporting on something that happened days after he first appeared. So he was there for many more discussions. And the main thing that seems like it got his attention was that there was some controversy. And I remember this specifically, J.D. Vance bringing up that, the American people really are tired of more wars and more conflict involving us and other nations that we're not anywhere near. But at the same time, and once again, this is kind of the part that's important for American citizens, is that, but I can see where our port routes and our transportation of our goods and services to other countries is going to be highly jeopardized in terms of the length of the trip, how safe the trip can be when you have a bunch of barbaric extremist, Muslim extremists that are firing rockets into the ocean that just happens to be this one line that's really highly used for shipping between this area of Europe and this area of the United States. And that's going to make things much more expensive, much more difficult for everybody, from the manufacturers to the consumers to anybody that's involved in the deals. However, it is still a look where it's like you didn't want to get us into any more wars. How are you sure this is going to... And I think it's a good point because look at the track record. That's what the left was always telling us to do. Look at the record speaks for itself. Well, if the record speaks for itself, then let's actually see. Let's see what happened. Anyway, so that's the story of the lead up, and like I said, Piers Morgan was like, based on the content of what was in the chat, it must be classified. Well, here's the most important thing, and I'm actually running out of time already, so I'm going to go through this real quick, and then, like I said, I really am stretched for time today, but this is probably one of the most single important bits of information that you can find surrounding this case. This is Senator Stubbe. I think he is from, is it Oklahoma? Or is it, I can't remember what state he's from. It might say it on the clip, but anyway, this is him questioning the panel that appeared in front of the Senate yesterday. It was Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and John Radcliffe, all in charge of different agencies that deal with, obviously, classified information on a daily basis. And in particular, you have the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, there. So, this is the kind of information that you would want these people here to ask questions about. Of course, they weren't there for that. They were there to try and, as it really is a wonder how they have no real, like, are you just gonna freaking, yeah, never mind. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this clip. Like I said, I'm going to probably have to play this and then probably bounce. But this is probably the most important thing that you can see for... Jeez. Oh, that's right. That's right. I downloaded it, but I didn't even move it yet. I'm sorry. I'm trying. My mind is rushing in a bunch of different places. I'm trying to keep everything together, but because, quite honestly, there was talks about how this went back to Hillary Clinton's server and what she did with classified documents, and the only reason people were trying to say that there was a lot of whataboutism going on with people. It's like, not really. You know why? Because all these people like that, were at the heart of a certain scandal of their own, all decided that, it's a great idea to jump into the conversation now and talk about how irresponsible Pete Hegseth is. So, yes, absolutely, it's fine to bring these people up because what they did is far, far worse. Like, this is one message where everyone was thought to be on the level. What Hillary Clinton did was something that was totally different. It was known it was not on the level. And then on top of everything else, she tries to cover her tracks by deleting everything that she did do. So no, I'm sorry, it's not whataboutism, because if it was whataboutism, then our example from the right side that we're pointing to would be doing something even close to as bad as what the people on the left have been doing for years and years, like Joe Biden's Corvette. And you went after Trump for keeping classified documents in a locked closet when he was a former president. And then you got mad at the right when they went after Joe Biden when he kept him next to a Corvette in his garage when he was not the president yet and didn't have the right to have classified documents. Like, there's never an equilibrium here. It's always the burden of the excess is always on the left, and yet they are the ones to shout the loudest when there's some sort of potential infraction, like, how dare you, you're disrupting the rule of law, no one's above the law. Yeah, no one except everyone on the left. Yeah, we know all about it. But here we go, I found it. So I'll just okay. So like I said, this is from I think it's from yesterday. I think the hearing was yesterday. If not, it was 2 days ago. But this was like, a couple. I'm trying to hurry. Anyway, that means I do have to play this and get going. But so this is the information about that. I didn't turn the volume on. So okay, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, were there any sources described in the signal chat?
No, Congressman.
Were there any methods described in the signal chat?
No.
Were there any locations?
No.
Therefore, due to the fact that there were no sources, no methods, nor locations described in the signal chat, it does not make the discussion classified. Is that correct?
That is up to the Secretary of Defense determination.
The Democrats are obviously making the assertions that what was in the signal chat was classified and claiming that Secretary Hegseth put this war plan out to the world, which he clearly did not. Were there any names in the signal chat?
Yeah.
No.
Any targets?
No.
Any locations?
No.
Was there a unit name or location of that unit?
There was not.
Were there any routes described in the signal chat?
No.
Wouldn't an operational plan contain that type of information?
Every operational plan I've ever seen has contained that information.
Thank you. Shifting to the real threats
There we go
to America,
again.
the southern border.
Yeah. So there you have it. Like they are really seriously like cherry picking this situation to make sure that it's looking as bad as possible, but it's clearly something they are, you know, blowing way out of the ordinary to make it look like it's just this unique, like complete irresponsible behavior. And last thing, because I just remembered about this, the gall of that senator that asked Tulsi and John Radcliffe about Pete Hegseth's drinking and how was he drinking on the day he was talking about these plans in the Signal app. That is so freaking absolutely just completely disrespectful and disgusting. But besides which, he tries to bring up an example about how he was caught drinking on stage in some kind of security conference in Europe, and it was based on a photo that was taken of him on stage at this summit. And I don't know if it was a summit or a conference, whatever it was. He was meeting with a bunch of other people. Now, this is the last thing I want to show you, because this is just goes to show you exactly how crooked this whole situation is. Like, they're going to look at anything and find whatever they want to find there, because that's all they have. That's all they have, and that's all that they can do. And so let me pull this last thing up, and then we'll wrap. But I completely forgot I had this, and this is so perfect for explaining exactly like what these people, how low these people are willing to sink. But it's not this one. Here we go. It's got to be in this one, I think. It's from Megyn Kelly's show. If I didn't save it, I'll have to bring it up tomorrow. I mean, I know I saved it. I know I cut it too. I trimmed it, but maybe I did save it, but not as the right file. Damn. Yeah, I think I'll have to get it. Unless I have it no, it's not here, not here. Well, I can describe it because it is blatantly obvious in the photo what actually is going on there, but it might be in here. Hold on. This is the last place I'll check, and then if it's not here, then I don't have it. It's a really short clip, but it so perfectly encapsulates exactly how desperate they are because of just what they're trying to say and what the evidence actually is. Once again, yeah, it looks like I don't have it. Damn. Well. Okay. Essentially, this glass of booze that supposedly Pete Hegseth had in his hand on stage during this European conference, it was a glass of water, first of all, and secondly, the brown water supposedly that would be a dead giveaway for bourbon or whiskey or whatever they're trying to say. Yeah, that was his hand being on the other side of the clear water you know, and the photographer catching him holding it like this and his hand, you know, being behind it, you know, and that being actually what's in the glass, not brown water. And that was how this United States senator, the esteemed senator there, was fooled to thinking that he was drinking on stage because he couldn't tell the difference between brown water and a hand that is behind a glass with pure, clear liquid in it. Yeah. So, you know, Pete Hegseth, who was very proudly describing how he had been sober for something like 12 years or 10 years or something at his hearing. Yeah, he just broke that because of being on stage in Europe. It's just, and so no, he wasn't drinking. I feel safe saying he wasn't drinking when he was talking to people on an app that he was told when he was given the government phone was an app you could communicate with other government officials with. So regardless of whether Mike Waltz was involved or not by getting this guy in, I don't see what the motivation would be, but I have no idea. So I can't say for sure. We'll have to wait and see. But like I said, the president doesn't seem to be suspecting he needs to be let go. I would have guessed that Trump, if he did suspect that, would have immediately let him go. But if that's not the case, then I don't know what else it could be. But I do know that the operation was successful. No one on our side was in any danger because of this. And so once again, this is just more grasping at straws and a party that's so bankrupt they have nothing and nowhere to go. Anyway, I better rush. So thank you guys for watching. I'll try to be here tomorrow. I really want to now because I thought for sure I was going to be able to do this. Everything freaking fell apart. But thank you guys for watching anyway. I appreciate it. I will talk to you next time. Till then, take care. Have a good one. And I'll see you later. Peace.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out. What is?
For credits.
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.